Hello, it's Lindsay, the Frugal Crafter, and today we are going to have a little scal lesson, and we are going to make a frame that we can use to make embossed frames with our big shop machine. Now what I've done here is I've cut two frames out of an old cereal box, stacked together. When I run them through my machine with an embossing folder, I will get a lovely embossed frame around a flat surface in which I can stamp on. Now this is a little bit bigger than the embossing folders I have, and you can kind of see I would get a lovely frame around that large oval, but I want to make one that's exactly the same size as my Cuttlebug folder. So what I'm going to do is measure my folder, and it is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, the same size as a standard card. So what I'm going to do is in scal choose a standard rectangle, and I am going to type in the size. I want it to be 5.5 by 4.25. And that's the rectangle size I want. Now I want to have an oval in the center. So what I'm going to do is just choose my standard oval, and I'm going to drag it out so it fits the area nicely, but will still leave me some pretty embossed area around. And that looks pretty well centered. That looks pretty nice. Now what I'm going to do is select the whole shebang here so that I have the selection box around the outside. I'm going to Control C to copy, Control V to paste it, and I'm just going to slide it down on my mat so I can cut two of the exact same pieces. If you're using Scal 1, you don't have that option, so what I would do is I would cut it once, reload your mat, and cut it again so you get the exact same size. Okay, here is the Cricut, and what I've done is I have used some painter's tape to tape my chipboard, my cereal box, down to my mat so it'll stay nice and secure. And I'm just going to load it into the machine. Now as you can see, I have my deep cut blade in, and I have it set on 4, and I'm doing a multi-cut of 2 under the high pressure. If you're using the green blade housing, if you don't have the deep cut blade, that's fine. You can do that. You just want to make sure you have it on 6 for the depth. You want to have it on max for pressure, and that you do a multi-cut of probably 3, but it will cut fine with the standard blade. Since I have the deep cut blade, I'm going to use that and kind of save my standard blade. So here it goes cutting. It's going to cut it twice, just to be sure that I get through both layers of the chipboard, or just to make sure it gets through the whole chipboard layer, which is about 3 times thicker than cardstock. And then we'll go right on to the next step. Okay, now we have our frame cut out. We have both of our frames adhered together so it's double thick. And I'm going to take my embossing folder. This textile pattern has a nice overall design, so the frame really shows up nice. And I'm going to take a card that I've cut and scored, and I'm going to line it up in my folder, just like so, and close it up. I'm going to set it on my spacer. I've got 1 sheet of red rubber. You could use a sheet of chipboard if you didn't have that. And I'm going to put in 2 sheets of cardstock because I just need a little bit more pressure to go through the machine. If I use both cutting pads, it's too much, so I need to make up the pressure with the rubber pad and the 2 sheets of cardstock. You'll have to experiment a little bit to see what works right in your machine. I'm putting the top spacer on, the top cutting pad I mean, and I'm going to crank it through. You should feel pressure, but it shouldn't be hard to crank through. If it's hard to crank through, it's too much. And you'll see when you try to emboss it, you'll have embossing in the center where you don't want it. Now this is just so cool. You can see we've got a nice embossed frame, and we've got a nice flat middle. Let me put a little bit of ink on that so you can see it better. You can always trim away if you get a little flat spot that didn't emboss on the edge, or you can cover it with ribbon or whatnot, but I think this is just such a fun technique. And see how that is? You've got a nice embossed frame around a blank center. Now don't throw away the middle part, because you can take that middle part that came out of your machine when you cut it with a Cricut. You've got these 2 ovals of cardstock, or chipboard rather. Adhere them together, and we're going to do the same thing. This time we're going to end up with an embossed area in the center. So grab your cardstock as we did before, and push that right back through the machine like that. Put your cardstock in the folder, line it up just like so, set it on your pad and cardstock, line that right up in the center so you'll have a nice embossed area in the middle. Put your cutting pad on top. It might slip a little bit. You might even want to use a little piece of tape to hold it where you want it to be. And crank it through. A little bit of pressure. You're not going to feel too much. And you take your cardstock out, and here you have, this would be a pretty Easter egg, wouldn't it? Because you've got this nice embossed area in the center and then nothing on the outside. I'll hit it with a little bit of ink so you can see it a little better. Right in the center there. I'd take a little more time if I wasn't doing this on camera, but you can see you've got a nice embossed area in the center when it's flat on the outside. It's not perfect, but I'm doing this quickly on camera. So there you have it.